There's a reason your brain calms down the second you touch soil, and it has nothing to do with the fresh air or the pretty flowers. Scientists found something happening inside your body the moment you start caring for a plant. And once you know what it is, you're never going to look at gardening the same way again. Stick around because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why some of the calmest, happiest people you know are the ones with 15 plants crammed into their apartment. Here's something that used to confuse me for a long time. I noticed that every single time I got stressed out, overwhelmed, in my head too much, the one thing that actually helped wasn't scrolling my phone, wasn't watching TV, wasn't even talking to someone. It was going over to my plants, just checking the leaves, feeling the soil, maybe repotting something that needed more space. And every single time I come out of it feeling like my brain had been reset. For a long time, I just thought that was a personal quirk. Turns out, it's not random at all. There's actual science behind why this happens, and it's way more interesting than plants are relaxing. Let's start with the problem, because most people think caring for plants helps with stress, just because it's a nice hobby, something calm to do with your hands. That explanation is way too simple, and it's actually wrong. If it was just about doing something calm with your hands, then folding laundry or organizing a drawer would give you the same effect. They don't. Not even close. So, something else is going on. Something specific to soil and plants that other calm activities don't have. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2007, researchers at Bristol University in the UK made a discovery that honestly should have been bigger news than it was. They found a specific bacteria living in soil called Mycobacterium vaccae, and when this bacteria gets into your body, whether you breathe it in or it gets on your skin while you're digging around in dirt, it actually triggers your brain to release serotonin. If you don't know what serotonin is, it's one of the main chemicals in your brain responsible for feeling calm, stable, and happy. It's the same chemical that a lot of antidepressant medications are designed to target. So basically, just by getting your hands dirty in actual soil, you're triggering a chemical response in your brain that's similar on a smaller scale to what some anti-anxiety treatments are trying to do. Researchers went further with this. They ran experiments on mice, injecting them with this soil bacteria, and found the mice showed less anxious behavior and were noticeably calmer compared to mice that didn't get it. Then later studies on humans found similar patterns. People who spent time gardening with actual contact with soil reported measurably lower stress and better mood compared to people doing other calm, low effort activities. So, this isn't some feel good idea people made up because gardening sounds wholesome. This is an actual bacteria in dirt that interacts with your brain chemistry in immeasurable ways. But that's only half of the story because there's a second thing happening at the same time, and this one has nothing to do with bacteria. It's about attention. Most of your stress and anxiety comes from something psychologists call rumination. That's when your brain keeps replaying the same worry over and over, jumping between the past and the future, never staying in the present moment. Rumination is exhausting and is one of the biggest drivers of anxiety and low mood. Caring for a plant forces your brain to do something rumination hates. It demands your full attention on something happening right now in front of you. You have to actually look at the leaf to see if it's droopy. You have to feel the soil to check if it's dry. You have to notice the color, the texture, whether something looks off. None of that works if your mind is somewhere else. Plants basically force you into the present moment without you even trying to meditate or focus on purpose. Researchers call this kind of activity soft fascination. It's different from something like watching an intense movie or scrolling social media, which grabs your attention completely and leaves no room for your brain to process anything. Soft fascination holds just enough of your focus to pull you out of rumination, but it's gentle enough
that your brain can still quietly process emotions and recover in the background. Gardening checks both boxes at the same time, which is actually rare. Most calming activities only do one or the other. Now, here's where the story gets even more layered because there's a third thing happening, and this one is about growth in a very literal and a very psychological sense. When you take care of a plant, and it actually grows, gets a new leaf, blooms, recovers from looking sick, your brain registers that as a small, real win.
Psychologists call this a sense of self efficacy, which is basically your brain's confidence that your actions actually make a difference in the world. A lot of anxiety and depression is tied to feeling like nothing you do matters, like you're not in control of outcomes. Watching a plant respond directly to your care, seeing cause and effect play out in front of you week after week, quietly rebuilds that sense of control. And this response isn't slow or subtle either. Studies looking at cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone, found that just 30 minutes of gardening lowered cortisol levels more effectively than 30 minutes of reading indoors. Read that again. Not a walk outside, not meditation, reading, which is already considered a relaxing activity, and gardening still beat it. So you've got three things stacking on top of each other every single time you care for a plant. A literal chemical from soil bacteria boosting serotonin in your brain. A psychological effect from soft fascination pulling your mind out of anxious loops and into the present. And a sense of accomplishment from watching something respond directly to your effort, rebuilding your confidence that your actions matter. None of these three things happen when you're scrolling your phone. None of them happen when you're watching TV.
That's exactly why plant care feels different from other ways people try to relax, even though on the surface it looks like just another calm hobby. This also explains something that used to confuse a lot of people, which is why gardening therapy, sometimes called horticultural therapy, is now used in actual clinical settings. Hospitals, rehab centers, and mental health facilities use plant care as a real treatment tool, not just a nice activity to pass time. There's enough evidence behind it that it's taken seriously in medical settings, right alongside more traditional forms of therapy. So if you've ever felt a little embarrassed about how much time you spend fussing over your plants, or wondered why you feel so much better after repotting something, or checking on your monstera for the 10th time that day, now you know. It's not just a hobby.
It's your brain getting a small dose of the same tools therapists use on purpose, except you're getting it just by getting your hands in the dirt. If this helped you understand your own plant obsession a little better, subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I break down another thing about plants that most people have no idea is happening.